and saying maximum respect and thanks to the mayor, St. Catherine, Spanish Side, Norman Scott, your worship. Let me tell you, you see when them man call me and tell me, say, you want me to step forward and then ready to back me? Yeah. Spirit fly. Yeah. What I'm capable of. I'm rating to the max. See? All the people at the table. Well, I tell you, from Richard to Angela to next Richard to Dayton to Jolan, respect you to all I wanna. And why, when we see the team, we say, them must support me, you know. It gives me so much courage, and it gives me so much positive energy, because all of them are some top people in the party, some top individuals in the race. Big up Mr. Chief. Big up. I want to hear some out there, because they're coming like solid comrade. There are people that love me and me love them. I see the family them, they are tough. So comrades, boy, may I tell you, who is Mark Bowling? May I tell you a little bit who is Mark Bowling? See, because I know everybody really know me that well. Mark Bowling is 55 years old, or young, whichever you want to call it. Yeah, born July the 19th, 1965, born at UC on the University campus. My father was not from Jamaica. My father came to Jamaica in 1953 to be Jamaica's first orthopedic surgeon. An orthopedic surgeon is a man who fixed bone and then broke up and back and then something. He was the first orthopedic specialist to come to Jamaica. And you know who met him at the wharf when he come off of the boat? Because them time that boat he take to come to Jamaica. It was a man named Dr. Ken McNeil, Wickham McNeil father. Yeah, Wickham father. Met him at the wharf. And he took up a post at the University of West Indies. And shortly after that, there was the Kendall train crash, and he was asked to look after the relief of the people that were mashed up in that train crash then. And he started getting to the country and see why he can really make a difference here. And then there was a pandemic, well we call it epidemic, the poliomyelitis epidemic, the first one, the major one. And he was the only person in Jamaica then who had any experience at managing those cases, polio cases, because he had been in Egypt during the war and had seen polio and knew how to manage polio. And the government asked him again to look after the polio epidemic, and he built a center called the Polio Center, which later became the Mona Rehab Center. And it's now called the Sir John Bowling Rehab Center, named after him. He died in 1996. He was a professor of orthopedics. Let me tell you, my father was a man who cared about people. He never looked after money. He was lucky because he came from a family where he never had to really worry about money. Let me tell you the truth. But enough man who in that position don't really check so that this is an opportunity to help people. But that was his mission. My mother, who he met when he came here, she was a public servant. She worked for the government. Her first job was in the Central Planning Unit, the Planning Institute of Jamaica is now called. And she worked there as an administrative cadet, and all her rest of her life she worked either in the government service or as a volunteer, because she went to the rehab center which she had built after a while and spent the rest of her working life there. My father's, there's a school, Hope Valley Experimental School, a primary school where able-bodied and disabled children can learn together. He built that school. Mikhail Phillips went to that school. Julian Robinson went to that school. I was already at school when they started that, so they never pulled me and put me there, but it's a good school. He started the fish clinic in Papine. He started the hospice pain center. Later on in life, when he got very interested in treating people or helping people who had end-stage cancer and were in pain. and couldn't afford the drugs and so. And he started a pain center. It used to be on Law Street downtown, and then it moved up to near the rehab center, near Papilla, so hospice pain center. And may I tell you, when he died, you know, I'm going and study to look through him things and I say, wow, go on. It's 7 pounds and the good ganja me find in him cover. And a letter from the Commissioner of Police saying that Professor Sir John Bowling was entitled to have ganja to use at the pain center to help people that were in pain. Yeah, man. So that was in the early 90s. So comrades, I grew up on the university campus. I'm used to roam the place, ride a bicycle, play football and cricket, swimming in the river because the Mona Reservoir, the overflow coming like a river, you can all catch perch and them things in the river. Yeah, man. So that's what we grew up now, and Hermitage, Augustown. So, them man, we used to have friends from those communities. We used to play ball together. Them man, they teach me the life, teach me the real things in life. Start with Jollof dance as a teenager. Start with Kilimanjaro. Listen to Super Cat and Early B. Bigger Cherry. Make sure we do a Peter Make Sure. Yeah. And love the music. And start flex. And that's how we meet my princess, my empress. Yeah, man. Because a beautiful African empress is my wife, you know. Yeah, man. And me and her are from 1984. Yeah. And we married in 1990, we have 3 children together. Yeah. And it's a strong family. She's my rock, you know? Yeah. Sister Sandra. Yeah, man. So comrades, about that, make them feel that me not come from here. I have some born, I have some grow, I have some work. Yeah. All my career has been here. And I have been blessed, comrades. I have been blessed. I became a very top lawyer in the country. Corporate lawyer. I started VB&G there in Bunton and Golden with my brethren them, and it took off. Eventually we settled that. And then later we started another business, which is a big business now called Proven. So in the private sector, the business community, enough of the top man in the country know me and respect me because I do them legal work for years. And them know that he's a man competent in a business and competent in law. I mean, I have no mix up in my name. He's a straight shooter.
Straight shooter?
Yeah. His Sister P bring me into the politics. Sister P made me a senator in 2007. And then we start getting into the party. And she see me and she see how we move and she decides that she want me to be the treasurer of the party. Them time the Peter Bunton was my friend from business and you know him from long time. He was the general secretary them time then. And we work and set up the party the right way. All of the back money where them did owe from way back for the staff at the secretariat will settle off all of them things there. Everybody get current and get them things set up right. We get auditors for audit with accounts and we can publish them so the business community say that PNP know what them are do. PNP understand transparency. And we win the 2011 election. And Sister P made me Minister of Justice. I was still in the Senate at the time then. And as Minister of Justice, my responsibility was to ensure that every piece of legislation that had to be passed to keep Jamaica on track with the IMF program was passed on time. And trust the farmers, enough work that. I mean, I have to get in the trenches with the law and in the government service to make sure that everything done proper and everything done on time. And we delivered every single one of them, we passed every single test. And working close with Dr. Phillips too, because he was Minister of Finance, and enough of the legislation was to do with strengthening the tax system so that the country could get stronger. And the JLP inherited all of that in 2016. That's why when people say, oh, they can do all these things, how we could do all those things. So we set it and then they inherit it. And comrades, you see the ganja thing? I'm not telling a lie. As a youth, we used to deal with them things, right? As a, you know, the never in the business of it, but, you know, yeah. But I always know it's a Rasta man suffered enough tribulation in the Jamaica over ganja. I mean, it was wrong from way back and it is continued to be wrong. Enough youth get themselves in a problem with the law over a liquor split on radio. And when President Obama...
You know that I have a niece that your dad worked on 1995. She still lives on your housing scheme now beside the rehab center.
Okay.
And when she get the shop, she said she wasn't going to move it because it don't make any sense. And then she told her to put the ganja and the own and the shop come back out of the same own.
See? Yeah, man. So when President Obama start liberalizing things a little in America, we said now is our opportunity to take advantage of that. Because America was always the one holding it firm. Remember them time they were, them have said if Jamaica don't do certain things in relation to ganja, then lock off all things that Jamaica would have suffered. So we said that's our opportunity and we'll deal with it. People like Angie played a role. Raymond Price played a role. Philip Powell played a role as well. Tony Hilton played a role. All set the thing and we'll pass the reform. Recognize Rastafari for the first time in any legislation in Jamaica, them sacramental rights in relation to ganja. Decriminalize personal use of ganja up to 2 ounces. No arrest, no detention, no prosecution, no criminal record. Introduce a procedure for all man and woman who in the past got a sentence or fine for ganja and had it on them record. So they could easily get it expunged and clean up them records. They want the US Embassy or they want to get a job in the government service because they couldn't get a job for the government if they have a charge for ganja on your record. Thousands and thousands of people benefit from that already. And thousands of arrests used to go into the court and the court system, which is already overburdened. Those cases are no longer there because there's no case. Because ganja is no longer illegal when it comes to personal use. So that was a major thing that we achieved, and I think we never sold it enough when we were in the 2016 election because it was a transformational piece of legislation. Comrades, South St. Andrew, Dr. Omar Davis is my friend. He brought me in there onto his executive. I became vice chairman after a while, and then he wasn't well, and he decided he was going to phase out of public life. And I decided to step forward. First as chairman, ran against Colin Campbell, delegate gave me a landslide victory. And then a year later, he stepped down as member of parliament, and I was elected. Same time as Angie. Angie entered parliament in the lower house at the same day. Comrades, I believe that the People's National Party is the most important organization in Jamaica. 1938, it was the People's National Party that was a national movement to liberate Jamaica from colonialism, from colonial separation. It was the People's National Party that championed the right to vote for all Jamaican adults, universal adult suffrage, them call that. It was the People's National Party that championed independence from Britain. Although, as it almost like a 2016, but back in 1962, we set it and then take it and them get the final look pick up the race, then bust the tape, but we run the journey. It was Michael Manley who passed the legislation to give women rights. Michael Manley who gave workers rights. It was Michael Manley that made black people that top in Jamaica. Previous to that, all kind of opportunities were not available to the masses of the people. So I grew up on campus in the 1970s, surrounded by progressive people, and that has always been my orientation. We could have never be a laborite. Never. Never. But comrades, the party has lost its way, I feel. You know, if you check the trend of the voting patterns, we have been declining steadily for about 20 years. And it came home to roost badly on the 3rd of September. 14 seats are ours out of 63. And comrades, the party has been divided. And we're not divided over anything about ideology or any big ideas or policy issues. No. We're divided over personal issues, disrespect, and ambitions that have gone unchecked. And comrades, I believe it's time to draw a line in the sand. And we need a new era for the people's national party. We're talking about 2020 and forward. And when I become the leader of the party, with respect. All comrades must love each other as comrades. You must like a person, but you must love them as a comrade. And we must deliberately embrace a culture in the party of unity and togetherness, because if we remain divided, we will go nowhere. Our own survival, comrades, depends on us adopting a position of saying we must be united and together. And that applies whether you're talking about what happens in an NEC meeting, or what happens in any divisional meeting, or what happens in social media. We must get the discipline and apply the discipline that we are strengthening our party as a united party, a united movement. We must also, comrades, rediscover what our purpose is and what our mission forward will be. And it must be rooted in the past, our sacred traditions built on democratic socialism. Comrades, there is a lot still wrong with Jamaica. There's a lot of structural problems in Jamaica that keep people from realizing their full potential. That is why so many of our people have aspirations to travel abroad, because they know that that is the best chance for them. We have to change Jamaica so that Jamaica is a place where everybody, no matter which level of society they're born at or in, has the potential and the ability to get and achieve what they've dreamed for and what they work for here. That must be what we're about. The education system is fundamentally broken in Jamaica. And when you look at what happens in the schools, the difference in the outcomes of certain majority of schools versus a few schools. And it's not because those schools are bad schools. It starts right at the baby level, coming up. Early childhood development and primary schools. We must raise the standards of all primary schools and basic schools so that every picnic coming into high school is at a standard where they can perform creditably at that level. Thank you. Comrades, we must rebuild our organization. Our organization has been proven to be wanting. We are no longer the force on election day that we once were. We must invest in our party workers, training and education, and we must look after them better. I am committed to establishing a trust fund. I'm going to name it after O.T. Fairclough, who was the founder of the People's National Party. And that trust fund is going to provide some resources for the party workers who have worked long and hard for the party and whose living conditions are not where they should be. And we're going to have a proper system. We're going to have a proper system of assessing who should get based on need and length of service, because not everybody can all get at the same time. But at least it will show that we care for our party workers, and people in the community will say, why is it PNP are going good with because I'm looking after their own and we want to join our party too. And the children whose parents and grandparents serve this movement, but who now today don't see what benefit there is to it. And we'll start talking about them now vote. And some of them even want to vote green. But they will now start to see that the People's National Party is a caring organization. And comrades, young people, we are this age group here, we are strong. The People's National Party is strong. But see the youth that will come up, we have a lot of work to do to bring them back to us. About how, the hype on the Instagram and the social media and all of that is very great. But it is not that. If that was sufficient, we wouldn't have the outcome that we had on September the 3rd. Yeah. In South St. Andrew, I have built up the PNPYO in my constituency. We have over 100 members. I include them in all of my activities. When the COVID came, we adopted the Good Neighbor program, and we're distributing the care packages, and I let them run it. On election day, I bring them in to support our area coordinators and our cluster managers so they can learn, and many of them are very literate. A lot of them have done well in school and so on. The PNPYO generally, we must bring it into the mainstream of the party. And we must mentor them and train them and mentor them and nurture them and support them so that they can be our messengers to young people. And patriots as well, which is young professionals in their 30s. We must strengthen them as well. We can't give up the future to the JLP. We have to make sure the future becomes PNP. And comrades, communications is vital. It is a core competence in politics. And we have been weak in the area of communications in recent times. The world of communications has changed dramatically in the last 20 years. It is now all digital channels that are what people are using. And I'm not saying traditional forms of communication don't matter, they do matter. But we have to become very proficient and effective in the modern forms of communication through social media and so on. And I must tell you, I have a team working with me in this campaign, young, brilliant people in the area of communications. And I intend to ensure, they're all comrades, and I intend to ensure that when I become the leader, that area is going to be properly manned, properly staffed, so we become effective. So comrades, the last thing I want to say is probably the most important thing. We have gone through several years now. I don't remember when it started, Andrew, but from my coming to the PNP, I see there are already divisions around these personality issues. I've already said we must draw a line in the sand and a new era must begin now. We must be deliberate. We must bring in professional help to help us build a team. I believe in a big tent. That is why a Richard Azan, who was not on the same side I was on last year, is with us. That is why Norman Scott, who was not on the same side, is with us. That is why Patricia Duncan Sutherland is with us, and Joan Gordon is with us, and many more are coming too, because it's a big tent. Comrades, I'm a builder of consensus. I believe in respect for people. My charisma is around love and respect. That's what my charisma is based on. And people see that I'm a real person who cares and who understands issues, who has the intellectual capacity to understand and analyze and help to build solutions. I'm a team player. I don't want to go, nobody can do this on their own. We're all going to have to put in tremendous work to rebuild our party, comrades. But comrades, if we can change the culture to one of respect and love for comrades, working together, articulate a vision as to what we're about, where we're going, so we know where we are going, and we have a leader of integrity that the wider society can respect, believe you me, the future is bright. We will be back in Jamaica House before you know it. So comrades, this is not something that I have been dreaming about. It has not been my lifelong aim and ambition to be here today telling you that I want to be the leader of the party. But the reality of the situation is that I believe Jamaica needs a strong PNP. And I believe the People's National Party at this time needs a leader who has the credentials that I bring to the table. Yes. And that is why I feel duty-bound to put myself forward and to lead the party through this rebuilding process and back to where we are the strongest political movement in the country and can win election after election. So comrades, I thank you for your support. I ask you to send a message to other delegates. Let them understand that this is an inclusive movement we're building. This is a togetherness movement we're building. This is a movement of rediscovering what we are about as a movement, tackling the real issues of the society that still remain unsolved. 82 years after independence, the true mission of the People's National Party is to liberate our people from poverty and from inequity and from victimization and from all of the negative things that we inherited coming out of our history. That mission is incomplete and only the PNP can pursue that because we are the only ones who believe in it. So comrades, let us join hands and hearts. Let us get through November the 7th. Choose a leader who you feel is the right leader to lead the party forward, who has the respect of the society, whose name not up in and nothing, and who understands the issues and who has a caring heart and who has organizational skills. I have never pushed up myself much before. My social media was all about serving South St. Andrew and communicating with my constituents. That was what I used social media for. I wasn't trying to build a national profile. Now the time has come and I'm stepping up my profile. And I believe the Jamaican people will see the quality that is there and will embrace it and love it. Comrades, God bless you.
One love, comrades. One love, comrades. I'm sure at the launch, quite a few of you want to be there. I will be there. For sure. So comrades, on a hearing, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about it? Well, comrades, I think he is a unifier. And that is why I'm supporting. Comrades, let us sing the trumpet. After two. 1, 2, 3.